Bonjour tout le monde, comment allez-vous? Moi, ça va bien, merci. Okay, welcome everybody for another week of French. This is now week 10 of your French 101 course. So, by the end of today's lesson, students will be able to list activities they enjoy or dislike, discuss physical activities that they do regularly, ask others if they do certain activities, and list activities that are appropriate given different weather conditions. So before we get started, today's class is going to be focused on sports and physical activities. So I thought it was worth mentioning that this year, 2024, will be the Summer Olympics, and it's going to be hosted in Paris. So this will be a French-speaking country that's hosting the Olympics. So I thought that was interesting and relevant to this class. So make sure that you have your notes ready to listen and take notes. This will help you to study for the quiz, and also you can use them on the quiz since they're online. Okay, if you're ready, then let's go ahead and get started. C'est parti. So here I've got a bunch of sentences that I'm going to use to introduce the vocabulary. A lot of them are cognates, so they should be fairly easy to remember. Okay, Riyad Mahrez est de France, mais ses parents sont d'Algérie. Il joue au foot. Rudy Gobert est de Saint-Quentin en France. Il est joueur de basketball. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif est de Québec, au Canada. Il joue au football américain. Charles Leblanc est de Laval, au Québec. Il joue au baseball. Kristina Mladenovic est française. Elle est joueuse de tennis. Alexandre Texier est de Grenoble, en France. Il joue au hockey. Stade Toulousain est l'équipe de rugby à Toulouse, en France. Les joueurs jouent au rugby. En 2024, les Jeux olympiques se déroulent à Paris. Se déroule means they'll take place. Elle joue au volleyball. La Ryder Cup est un trophée de golf. C'est l'équipe américaine contre l'équipe européenne. Ils jouent au golf. Okay, so here's a quick note about some verbs that you've already learned. So obviously we have pratiquer et jouer. So to talk about the sports that you play, you can use both jouer and pratiquer. The verb jouer is followed by a preposition au, which is actually a contraction of a plus le, plus the name of the sport. The verb pratiquer is followed by the article le, la, les, or l apostrophe plus the sport. So like I said, these are kind of pretty much interchangeable in meaning, but the difference is that there's going to be some either a preposition or it won't be there, a preposition. So, mes amis jouent au foot. Mes amis pratiquent le foot. Une autre note de vocabulaire, c'est sur le tennis de table. While le tennis de table is the official name for the competitive sport, you may hear native French speakers also using the word le ping-pong. So like in English, we have table tennis and ping pong. It's kind of the same in French, so you can maybe on a more familiar basis, you'll hear le ping pong, but when we're talking about the Olympics, it'll be le tennis de table. Ok, c'est la première activité. Qui joue au... So here I've got a list of different sports, and I want you to list somebody who you know. It can be somebody famous or somebody that you know personally, or even yourself, who plays each of these sports. So I'll let you take a minute here and pause the video and respond using jouer. Ok. Par exemple, mon frère, il joue au baseball. Ma, euh, c'est, mes amis jouent au football et ma sœur et ma mère, my sister and my mom, jouent au volleyball. So again, these are kind of personal statements, so you can use whoever you want as long as you're using the correct form of jouer. Ok, on continue avec le verbe faire. So we've seen this verb before. Maybe you were aware that you were using it, maybe not. But this should look familiar. We have quel temps fait-il? So in this picture, we could say il fait chaud, il fait beau, il fait lourd. All of these use the verb faire, which in English, there's not exactly a one-to-one translation, but oftentimes it means to do. So it's used in a lot of different contexts. It's kind of a catch-all verb, and you'll see it used in a lot of different ways. But to do or to make are probably the most commonly translated ways of this verb. But so you've seen it in the third person singular, but here we have it in all of the conjugation categories. So also we've got some new vocabulary for you here. Je fais de la natation. So this is faire de la natation means to swim. Tu fais de la marche. So here is to walk. We also have seen marcher. So these two things mean more or less the same thing. Il fait beau aujourd'hui. We already have seen this one before. Nous faisons du vélo. So here, faire du vélo means to ride a bike. Vous faites du ski nautique. So this is faire du ski nautique means water ski. Et elles font du jogging. That one's similar to English. Hopefully you were able to guess that one. So they faire du jogging would be jogging. Okay, a couple more details on faire. So to talk about the physical activities you do, use the verb faire. It is followed by a form of the preposition de. So remember, we've talked about this. De plus le becomes du, and de plus les becomes des. De la and de and L apostrophe, those remain the same. So this should be familiar to you from a couple of lessons ago. Par exemple, j'aime faire du jogging tous les jours. So I like to go jogging every day. Je vais faire du ski ce weekend. So I'm going skiing this weekend. Okay, so we can also see this question used very frequently. So, qu'est-ce que tu fais? Qu'est-ce qu'ils font? Etc. So these are just in general, what are you doing? And just because faire is used in the question, it doesn't mean that you have to respond with faire. You may answer these questions with verbs other than faire. So here we have qu'est-ce qu'ils font? Ils cherchent un appartement. So what are they doing? They're looking for an apartment. So it works the same in English. We might ask, what are you doing? And you'll respond with something other than the verb do. Qu'est-ce que tu vas faire ce soir? Je vais jouer au tennis avec un ami. Ok. On a un autre exercice ici. So here we've got some example questions, and I want you to notice what happens in the affirmative versus in the negative. So, fais-tu de la planche à voile? So, do you go windsurfing? Oui, je fais de la planche à voile. Non, je ne fais pas de planche à voile. So here in this case, in the negative, we lose that article, the definite article. So we've seen this in other situations where the affirmative is different than the negative. So faire de will be the same. So whenever we have examples in the affirmative, if the answer is yes, then we'll use de la or du or de, whatever. In the negative, we'll just simply use de. So, fais-tu du surf? Si oui, oui, je fais du surf. Ou non, je ne fais pas de surf. Fais-tu de l'aérobic? Si oui, oui, je fais de l'aérobic. Sinon, non, je ne fais pas d'aérobic. All right, so you've already learned two ways of asking questions in French. We have est-ce que tu as un stylo? And we have intonation, just where we just raise our voice at the end. Ça va? So this works obviously with yes or no questions. Another way of asking is to use inversion, which means inverting the subject, pronoun, and the conjugated verb. Generally speaking, inversion is considered more formal and is more often used in writing or more formal and polite conversation. So some things to keep in mind here: if the verb ends in a vowel and the subject pronoun is il, elle, or on, T will be added to facilitate in pronunciation. It just makes it easier to pronounce, basically. Comment va-t-elle? Y a-t-il un examen aujourd'hui? So in negative questions, the inversion ne pas goes around the entire, in a negative question with inversion, the ne pas goes around the entire inversion. So, for example, ne mange-t-il pas avec nous? So here we're asking, aren't they eating with us, basically? Again, this is a more formal thing. This is something that you'll see a lot in written, but you may not use it as often. You'll probably use intonation and esque more frequently than you'll use inversion. Okay. Now we're going to practice some inversion, basically. So here is an example. Que fait-elle? Elle fait du yoga. So now going forward, we're going to see the response, and it's up to you to create an inverted question using que and the verb faire. Okay? La réponse, il fait du bowling. Que fait-il? Elles font du patinage. Que font-elles? Ils font du cheval. Que font-ils? Il fait du ski alpin. Que fait-il? Elle fait du ski de fond. Que fait-elle? So these last two, they're both different types of skiing. The ski alpin would be downhill skiing or alpine skiing. Ski de fond would be cross-country skiing, so when you're skiing on flat ground. Elles font de la gym. Elles font du sport. Que font-elles? So here, these two expressions, they basically just mean to work out, general working out. So it might be doing exercises, it might be lifting weights, but basically just these are kind of catch-all terms for doing some kind of physical activity. Ok, une autre activité. Here, I'm going to give you some situations, and it's up to you to give some examples of activities that might be appropriate for the situation. And you're also going to be reviewing some of the weather terms that we learned about last week. So, uh, la première partie. À Gigel, en Algérie, quel temps fait-il? Maintenant, il fait chaud, il fait beau. Et qu'est-ce qu'on fait quand il fait beau? So, what do we do when it's nice out? Par exemple, on fait de la natation, on fait de la marche, on fait du ski nautique. So these are some examples. There are definitely others that you could have put in here. Ok, à Zermatt, en Suisse, quel temps fait-il? Il fait froid, il neige. There's a few examples. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait quand il fait froid? What do we do when it's cold? On fait du ski alpin, on fait du ski de fond, on fait le patinage. So again, there were some other examples that you could have given, but those were just a few. Ok, et c'est terminé. Now it's up to you to head to eCampus to work on your discussion boards and the MindTap homework. As always, please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you later. À tout à l'heure.